What just happened in Brazil will leave you speechless, and the reason is stranger than you can imagine. In a move that has reverberated far beyond its borders, Brazil's government has made a decision that few could have anticipated. The announcement, delivered from the heart of the presidential palace in Brasilia, was met with immediate and intense scrutiny. As government officials stood before a sea of reporters, the world watched in disbelief. News outlets from every continent scrambled to cover the story, their headlines flashing urgent updates across television screens and social media feeds. The decision, described by many as both sudden and unprecedented, has sent shockwaves through the international community, igniting fierce debate and concern among environmentalists, policymakers, and ordinary citizens alike. The sense of disbelief was palpable as people everywhere tried to process the implications of what had just occurred. Protesters quickly gathered outside government buildings, their voices rising in passionate defense of the environment, while online, millions shared their reactions, ranging from outrage to heartbreak. The world, it seemed, was united in its astonishment at Brazil's dramatic reversal. For decades, Brazil had positioned itself as a global leader in environmental stewardship, championing the protection of the Amazon rainforest and the countless species that call it home. The Amazon, often referred to as the lungs of the planet, has long been recognized as a vital resource in the fight against climate change, absorbing vast amounts of carbon dioxide and supporting an unparalleled diversity of life. But now, in a stunning about-face, the government has completely reversed its stance on environmental protection. The lush, green expanse of the rainforest, once a symbol of hope and resilience, is now at risk of being transformed beyond recognition. The contrast is stark. Where there was once dense, thriving forest, there are now vast swathes of cleared land, the soil exposed and vulnerable. Rare and endangered wildlife, from jaguars to scarlet macaws, face an uncertain future as their habitats are destroyed. Indigenous communities, who have lived in harmony with the forest for generations, are left grappling with the loss of their ancestral lands and the threat to their way of life. The sense of loss is profound, and the consequences of this decision are only beginning to unfold. The shockwaves from Brazil's decision have been felt most acutely among those who have dedicated their lives to protecting the environment. In a move that has left scientists, conservationists, and world leaders reeling, the government has dismantled its major environmental protection agencies. Offices that once buzzed with activity now stand empty, their walls lined with maps and research that may never be completed. Scientists, many of whom have spent years studying the Amazon's unique ecosystems, are left to grapple with the reality that their work may have been in vain. The international community has responded with alarm as world leaders gather at emergency summits to discuss the potential fallout. Environmental activists, both in Brazil and abroad, have mobilized in response, holding urgent meetings and strategizing ways to mitigate the damage. International organizations have issued statements condemning the move, warning of the far-reaching consequences for the planet's climate and biodiversity. Diplomats are engaged in frantic discussions, searching for ways to persuade Brazil to reconsider its course. The sense of urgency is unmistakable as the world comes to terms with the magnitude of what has been lost. The consequences of Brazil's decision are already becoming visible on the ground. Vast, once protected areas of the Amazon rainforest have been opened to unrestricted mining and logging, with heavy machinery carving roads deep into the heart of the forest. Logging trucks rumble through what were once pristine wilderness areas, their loads stacked high with ancient trees. Satellite images reveal the rapid pace of deforestation as green gives way to brown and the intricate web of life that once thrived here is disrupted. Local communities, many of whom depend on the forest for their livelihoods, have taken to the streets in protest, their voices echoing through the trees. Rivers, once clear and teeming with life, now run muddy with runoff from mining operations, their waters poisoned and fish dying in alarming numbers. The environmental impact is staggering, with scientists warning that the loss of the Amazon could accelerate global climate change, disrupt weather patterns, and lead to the extinction of countless species. The world watches in horror as one of its most precious natural treasures is put at risk, and the fight to save the Amazon takes on new urgency. As the world grapples with the reality of Brazil's decision, the sense of urgency continues to grow. In classrooms across the globe, children learn about the Amazon and its importance, their faces etched with concern for the future. International protests have erupted in major cities, with people from all walks of life demanding action to protect the rainforest. Scientists appear on news programs, explaining in clear terms the global consequences of Amazon deforestation, rising temperatures, more extreme weather events, and the loss of irreplaceable biodiversity. The images are stark and unforgettable, smoke rising from burning forests, set against the backdrop of climate rallies where young and old alike call for change. The world is at a crossroads, and the choices made now will shape the planet for generations to come. The dismantling of Brazil's environmental protections has become a rallying cry for those who believe that the fate of the Amazon is inseparable from the fate of humanity itself. As the story continues to unfold, one thing is clear: the world cannot afford to look away. This isn't a slow policy shift, it's a wholesale surrender of the world's largest rainforest to industrial exploitation. The why behind these recent events is what's truly strange and, for many, deeply alarming. On the surface, it might seem like just another chapter in the ongoing struggle over the Amazon rainforest, a place that has long been at the center of global debates about conservation, climate change, and economic development. But if you look closer, you'll see that something much more complex and unsettling is unfolding. The motivations driving the government's actions are not just about policy or politics. They're about a fundamental shift in how Brazil sees itself, its resources, and its place in the world. This is not simply a story of environmental protection versus economic growth. It's a story about power, sovereignty, and a growing sense of siege. In recent months, the Brazilian government has been very deliberate in how it frames the situation. Rather than admitting to any kind of setback or defeat, officials have gone on the offensive, describing their actions as part of a necessary economic war. In speeches, press conferences, and official statements, they insist that Brazil is under attack, not by armies or weapons, but by economic forces and international pressure. They argue that the country's economic future is at stake and that extraordinary measures are required to defend it. This rhetoric is not just for domestic consumption, it's aimed at the world, sending a clear message that Brazil will not be dictated to by foreign interests, no matter how well-intentioned those interests may claim to be. The government's narrative goes even further, suggesting that hidden foreign powers, governments, NGOs, and multinational corporations are using environmental concerns as a pretext to hold Brazil's economy hostage. According to this view, calls for conservation and sustainable development are not just about saving the rainforest, they're about keeping Brazil poor and dependent. Officials claim that these outside actors are manipulating global markets, influencing public opinion, and even funding protests to undermine Brazil's sovereignty. They point to international headlines, economic sanctions, and the reactions of global summits as evidence of a coordinated campaign to limit Brazil's growth. This framing has found a receptive audience among some Brazilians, who feel that their country's natural wealth has always been a source of envy and interference from abroad. But it has also sparked fierce debate, both inside and outside Brazil, about what's really at stake, and who stands to gain or lose as the so-called economic war unfolds. The world is watching, and the consequences of this conflict will reach far beyond the borders of the Amazon. They've chosen to sacrifice the planet's lungs for what they call absolute sovereignty, creating an ecological and diplomatic crisis overnight. The world is reacting, but the damage may already be done. In a world where the news cycle never sleeps and the forces shaping our planet are more complex than ever, staying informed is not just a choice, it's a necessity. Every day, events unfold across the globe that have the power to reshape economies, alter the environment, and impact the lives of millions. From the lush canopies of the Amazon rainforest, where deforestation continues to threaten biodiversity and the global climate, to the halls of government where critical decisions are made, the world is in constant motion. If you want to truly understand the forces behind these shocking global events as they happen, whether it's environmental crises, political upheavals, or groundbreaking scientific discoveries, then you need a reliable source that breaks down the noise and delivers the facts with clarity and depth. That's why it's so important to be subscribed to this channel. By subscribing, you're not just supporting our work, you're ensuring that you have direct access to in-depth analysis, timely updates, and expert perspectives on the stories that matter most. Our team is dedicated to cutting through misinformation and providing you with the context you need to make sense of a rapidly changing world. Whether you're interested in the latest developments in environmental policy, want to understand the economic implications of global events, or simply want to stay ahead of the curve, being subscribed means you'll never be left in the dark. You'll be the first to know when we release new content, and you'll have a front row seat to our crucial breakdowns and investigations. So, Don't miss out on the stories that are shaping our future. Hit that subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell so you never miss our crucial breakdowns. By joining our community, you're taking an active role in staying informed and empowered. You'll receive notifications the moment we publish new videos, ensuring you're always up to date with the latest insights and explanations. Plus, as a subscriber, you'll have the opportunity to engage with us directly, share your thoughts in the comments, suggest topics you want us to cover, and become part of a growing network of curious, informed viewers. Remember, knowledge is power, and in today's world, staying ahead means staying connected. Subscribe now, and let's navigate these global events together.